Renouncing the attachment to fruit of action. Attachment to the fruit of action is even before the fruit has come, you have decided what you want to do with the fruit. This is clinging attachment to the fruit of action. Attachment to the fruit of action means even before the fruit has come, even before the result has come, you have enough plans for what to do with the fruit. This is the attachment to the fruit of acquisition. The acquisition itself hasn't happened, but the person have planned what to do with the fruit. A clinging attachment to the fruit even before the fruit has come. When does it start? This clinging attachment to the fruit of action, it starts even before the action begins. Well, he says, get rid of the attachment to the fruit of action. Get rid of the attachment to the fruit of action. Wanting to enjoy the fruit, having plans as to what one has to do with the fruit, even before starting the action. It's the next 40 years to plan பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கணும். So not knowing what is. He's not saying don't practice. He's not saying don't plan or don't do anything. He's only saying the this very attachment, this very thought process, what he calls as attachment to fruit of action, this very thought process creates tremendous discontentment in life. So, how do you know that you are attached to the fruit of action? Discontentment. Why discontentment? Because you had a plan, or you can't say you had a plan. There's no such thing called plan. It is only a hope. Expectation. Pudichirunda, you will call it as a plan. If you don't like it, you will call it as a hope or expectation. It doesn't matter whatever word it is. What does it mean? You are projecting something onto the future without any assurance of it that will happen. It may happen, it may not happen. Still we need to have a goal, still we need to have a plan. As we saw that already, plan, ideal, goal, all these is not for attainments. All this gives some direction to action, that's all. A goal is not for attainment. Goal is that which gives some direction. Already third chapter, when we discussed the technique of Karma Yoga, we saw that. Again I am repeating. Goals are not meant for achieving. Goals are meant to give some direction to your action, that's all. Goals are not meant for achieving. That's why in the Karma Yoga he says, have a goal that will take 3 janmas for you to keep a goal where it will take 3 janmas for you to achieve. Now it means you are ready for action for a long period of time. That's what it means. A goal implies that you are ready for action for a long period of time. So when you act, what happens? Goal indicates that you are prepared for action for a long period of time. You get what happens? You have to act for a very long period. You get fatigued and tired. And how do you manage that fatigue? By telling yourself that at the end of this tiresome journey of action, this is the fruit I will get, and I will be able to enjoy that fruit. So what motivates you right through? Fruit varum. I will be. Fruit will come, and I will have the capacity to enjoy the fruit. After acquiring, suddenly you wake up, and you realize that black coffee it is not. You have to drink only hot waters. You could have done that. You could have done that without this worry and anxiety and stress. That's what he said. You follow? So what happens is, again I repeat, goal na enartham, you are ready for action for you are ready for a long innings, marathon nartham. It's a marathon. It's a marathon. And marathon ஓடுறவங்க எல்லாம் பார்த்தா எப்படி இருப்பாங்க? Somalia patients மாதிரி they will look. It looks like they have come from Ethiopia, and actually they are the ones. It looks like that they have come from Ethiopia, Somalia. Look like they will die. Look like they will die now. And you see the fellow who runs 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters. Oh my God! They look They look so strong, they look so fit. After 200 meters they go, dog madri they go. This fellow is running and running and running, and after finishing the marathon also he is not panting. So you know that even after finishing the marathon they don't really, they don't do all that. They are just, 100 meters you can't have a conversation after the race is over. At least for the first few minutes, for he is so breathless, but because the speed with which the acceleration, the speed, the reaching the destination, and then get exhausted. Life is not like that. It's a marathon. Life is more like a marathon. It means you have to be ready for a long period of action. When you say you are ready for a long period of action, what happens is the very long period that you have to keep acting itself is very tiring. You have somebody who is sick at home, terminally ill. The first day, third day, fifth day, compassion. Seventh day, fatigue. 10th day, frustration. 15th day, prayer. Prayer, not for his welfare. Prayer not for the welfare. Prayer that avarku moksham kadikittum. Engalku moksham. Why? Because we are not ready for a long period of action. Now, how do you motivate yourself? You have to pitch something as a fruit. Whatever goal you have kept, that itself you convert it to a fruit. First you keep something as a goal, and then what do you do? Because of the fatigue and somewhere you wanted to stop, the very goal itself you convert it into a fruit. That is where we say goal and fruit are not. Goal and fruit, even though it looks like different in the beginning, at some stage goal and fruit becomes one and the same. Then what happens? And the hope keeps you going. You start acting. First vigna, first obstacle creates a fear. What is the fear it creates? Are you able to follow the sequence, or are you lost? Are you able to follow the sequence? First is you have an action. First is you have a goal. And then you understand that you have to be prepared for a long period of action. And the long period of action is very tiring. So what do? You convert that into a fruit. And then that fruit drives your action. Now you have started to act. Action aramcha, first in our obstacle, vigna comes, obstacle comes. So at the first obstacle, the person somehow manages. And the somehow managingly 50% of hope is lost. Hope is lost about what? Hope is lost about enjoyment of the fruit. Hope is lost about enjoyment of the fruit. Ena vigna obstacle vandirukku, obstacle vanda erganave long innings in the obstacle overcome pandrathe you will lose. You will waste some, or you will lose some time. It means you have to gather more time. இந்த மாதிரி வந்துனே இருக்கும். When will I ever get the fruit? Abdina, when will I ever enjoy the fruit? That is why we have the next generation, which gives us the satisfaction that at least even if I am not enjoying, நான் கஷ்டப்படுறதுக்கு ready, sir. I am willing to sacrifice. I am ready to do all. They will? யாரு? Family. Family na? Children. Grandchildren. இல்லையா? அதுக்குதான் they say, at least we should have one son. Only daughter na, son-in-law will come and son-in-law is going to come and snatch in. Son-in-law is not part of my family. He is not correct. Outside. So that is why I say we should have at least one son. So that the enjoyment of the fruit happens. What is Karma Yoga? Detachment to the fruit of action. You can't get detached from action. Since you are doing an action, fruit will come. Anyway, there will be a fruit. Action panna, fruit no nirpo. You can't do anything about it. Now, what you can do is, you say, I have nothing to do with the fruit. You can get detached. Generally what happens, because of the vigna, because of the obstacle, and because of the long period of action and all that, people get fatigued and they stop action. And when they stop acting, they know that they have compromised on the fruit. This is discontentment. This is what is discontentment all about. அவ்வளோ சேல் ஆயிருக்கணும், இவ்வளோதான் சேல் ஆச்சுன்னா டிஸ்கண்டென்ட்மெண்ட். பிகாஸ் யூ ஹேவ் ஃபிக்ஸ்டு சம்திங். யூ சே ஸ்டால் போடுறோம், அவ்வளோதான், வந்தவங்க வரட்டும், வரலன்னா ஒரு புக்கு விற்றா கூட ப்ராஃபிட் தான் இல்லையா, அவ்வளோதான். This is how you understand detachment to the fruit of action. It is not about detachment from action. It is not about saying there is no fruit. It is not detachment from action, nor are they saying palam onnume kadayadu. No. There will be action will produce a fruit. You can't do anything about it. Now what you can do is, you say, action has produced the fruit and I have nothing to do with it. Are you okay? You understand this concept clear, na? What he is going to talk in verse number 21 becomes easy. Yeah. You are only setting the ground for அடுத்த verse in the verse liye. That's how he is teaching. He explains this and he sets the ground for the next. Because these are all extreme formulas that he is talking about. Yes.
What's the difference in this? Renounce the fruits of action and renounce the attachment to fruits of action.
Renouncing the fruit of action means எனக்கு வாண்டான்னு சொல்றது. Renouncing the fruit of action means saying I don't want the fruit. Renouncing the attachment to fruit of action means whatsoever the fruit is, ishtam, anishtam, whatsoever the fruit is, pleasant, unpleasant, Success, failure, profit, loss. My action continue. There is a difference between the two. Again I repeat. The question that he asked is, repeat பண்ணுங்க. What is the question? இப்போ மூணாவது வந்துட்டாரு. மூணாவது வந்துட்டாரு. அதுக்கு தான் ரிப்பீட் பண்ணுங்க. சொல்லுங்க. கரெக்ட். அது முடியாது. கரெக்ட். வீணு எதுக்கு வெங்கட்ட சேர்த்துக்கிறேன்? அவர் கோபம் வருது அவருக்கு இல்லையா? வீணு எதுக்கு அவரை சேர்த்துக்கிறேன்? ஐ ஐ ஐ எஸ்ஆர்எல் எஸ் அது என்ன எஸ்ஆர்எல்னா சுமை தாங்கி. அதுதான் பேர் தான் சுமை தாங்கி. ஒண்ணும் கிடையாது. இதுல renouncing the action is ruled out, impossible. Karyate hyavashat karma, karyate hyavashat karma. Impossibility of not doing is ruled out. Abdilla action will happen. Yes. Upon death, action stops. Therefore, renouncing the action rather not. Second is renouncing the fruit of action. Renouncing the fruit of action seems to be very appealing conceptually, but if you actually try to understand practice Allah, you know that there is no such thing called renouncing the fruit of action. Why there is no such thing as renouncing the fruit of action? Action will create a fruit. Therefore, there is no such thing called renouncing the fruit of action also. So, action விட முடியாது. Fruit வர விடாம தடுக்கவும் முடியாது. அப்படின்னா what can you do? Attachment to the fruit of action. You can renounce the attachment to the fruit of action. That is why whenever he talks about the wise men, he always says they have renounced the attachment to the fruit of action. What is the fruit of action? He says, I am unconcerned about it. Whatsoever be it. Whatsoever be it na enna artham? Rendu dhaan. Ishtam, anishtam. Avladhaan. Favorable, unfavorable. Illaya? Favorable ku 3, unfavorable ku 1. Favorable ku 3. What you get exactly what you want, you get more than what you want, you may get less than what you want, but still you are getting something. That is favorable. Ishtapalam. Then there is something called anishtapalam. What is something called anishtapalam? The opposite, which you didn't wanted, but you got it. Now these are whatsoever the fruit is, this man unconcerned about the fruit continues his action. Renouncing the attachment to the fruit of action. Are you able to understand the distinction? Renouncing the action, impossible. Okay. How can you renounce obligatory action? Niyatam. You see, or understand, all that we are talking about action means we are talking about obligatory action only. It is implied. We don't have to say it again and again and again. Yeah, because ragadvesha actions is already ruled out. So whenever we talk about action in the context of karma yoga, what is implied? The obligatory action. Now, when can you stop performing the obligatory action? So renouncing the obligation is a possibility. Renouncing the obligation doesn't exist as a possibility at all. Are you okay? Abdina, what is moksha then? You let go of the raga dvesha. Now you can if you can let go of, if you want to be free from, carefully follow, if you want to be free from obligations, what you should be free from first? Likes and dislikes in the freedom varama, you can never get freedom from obligations. Therefore, what a sannyasi does, he keeps doing what he ought to do, but his entire attention is upon, his entire attention he has shifted to eliminating raga dvesha. But he continues to do the obligatory action. Even sannyasi. In the initial stages, like yogi, yogindra, who's yogi? Obligatory action olunga panna kathukaravanga yogi. A person who tries to understand how to do the obligatory action in the way it ought to be done, he is yogi. All that we are trying to do in this context is what? Trying to become a yogi. What is it? First we have to be told, do your obligation. Do your obligation with Shraddha. Do your obligation with Shraddha. Clear? Sannyasi is one who has mastered the obligation, but then he wants to free from the bond of action. Since he wants freedom from the bondage of action, what he does? His entire attention has shifted to eliminating raga dvesha. Eliminating raga dvesha na engana odi poida mudiyumna mudiyadu. Doing the obligations, he tries to transcend. He attains moksha. You follow? Is the hierarchy. Now what we are talking about is how to mature into a sannyasi and then a jnani. How to mature into a sannyasi. How to do your obligations. How to do your obligations rightly, the technique in renouncing the attachment to the fruit of action. Are you able to follow? Renouncing the attachment to the fruit of action. Abdina, you become you are establishing in yogi, not sannyasi. Because sannyasi has come to what? Sannyasi has come to eliminating raga dvesha. We are trying to convince ourselves to do action. Correct. We are convincing ourselves to do obligatory action with Shraddha. Shraddhayoda obligation pannanuன்றத கத்துக்கிற ஸ்டேஜ்ல we are in. It's not an inferior state. It's not any low state or anything. But this is where the vast majority is. I am not meaning anybody in particular. This is where the vast majority is. Why? Because there is no Shraddha in the obligation itself. How do you know that there is no Shraddha in the obligation? Because they want to end the obligation. At some point of time they want to conclude the obligation. Here we come and say, as long as you are alive, actions will continue. Now what actions? Obligatory actions will continue. Eno danun bannamu, you can do it with Shraddha. Are you okay up to this point?
I didn't understand the difference between we are trying to convince ourselves to do obligatory duty with Shraddha and attention shifting to eliminating raga dvesha. We are also trying to eliminate raga dvesha. Then only we can do it.
In the case of a yogi, he is not yet convinced about eliminating raga dvesha Allah. If he is convinced about eliminating raga dvesha as the goal of action, as the purpose of action, and he is directing all the action towards that, he has already reached a very high state of evolution. that happens. That happens at one level. Right now, where a person is, the thought of obligatory action, we want the obligatory action to, we want our obligations to conclude. Which obligation we want to take it as a lifetime project? Give me one obligation that you want to do it as a lifetime object. சாப்பிடணும், தூங்கணும், ஹெல்த்தியா இருக்கணும். அது இல்லையா? அது வந்து காரை சர்வீஸ் பண்ற மாதிரி. That is not an obligation. That is like that is like servicing the car. That is like washing the car every day. That is like cleaning the car every day. What is there any one obligation that you have taken as a lifetime project? Impossible. I am not asking for textbook answers, sir. I know the textbook answers. I am asking, in you as a person, have you thought about having something as a lifetime obligation and be unaffected? First is you have something as a lifetime obligation. Second is okay, we all have obligations, sir, but how much shraddha are we able to bring into it? Number 3, when vigna and when the anishta palam happens, how enthusiastic are we? How devoted are we to ignore that and continue? இதெல்லாம் பண்ண முடிஞ்சா he is a yogi, meaning in the initial stages of the path. Why? Because he has still not gotten into eliminating raga dvesha. He has still not gotten into the discrimination of nitya and anitya. அது இன்னும் வரவே இல்லை. நித்திய அனித்யான்றதே வரல. A small incident in life, something inconsequential in life makes life so real, so panic. Clear? In the last 2-3 days, I don't know whether Accenture அப்படிதான் பண்றேல தெரியல. Some of the companies I am going in, they are giving me hand sanitizers. உள்ள நோயத்துக்கு முன்னாடி they are giving that. I asked, எனக்கு மட்டும் தானே எல்லாருக்கும் கொடுக்குறீங்களாப்பா? I asked. இல்ல சார், safety precaution. They are not saying don't take safety precaution. அதோட worst virus எல்லாம் is floating around. Panic. One thing not going the way is enough to create such a panic. And then what are we discussing about? Nitya and Anitya. So Nitya and Anitya becomes a very good topic of Mari biscuit discussion. Tea and Mari biscuit discussion, the Nitya and Anitya is. What is the reality? What is the reality? Small coronavirus is enough to bring in the shiver the fellow. You follow what I am saying? So to that fellow, what can you say? Get rid of raga dvesha, world is anitya Allah. How to help that man to come to that stage? Extraordinary method. Renounce attachment to the fruit of action. Are you able to follow the sequence? Renounce attachment to the fruit of action. And what is renouncing attachment to the fruit of action means? You are the doer first. You are the doer. As you are the doer, you will experience the result. What you say? Whatsoever the result is, I accept it How do I know that I have accepted it? Continue my obligations. Because phala means not the end of obligation. What is the fruit of an action? I was hoping somebody will ask, what is the fruit of obligation? End. Fruit is an end. Something is an end. Fruit means the phala, where you got something in hand as an end. Now what is the fruit of action? As you keep doing, something keeps coming. As you keep doing, something keeps coming. அது என்ன வந்தாலும் அதை தூக்கி வச்சிட்டு you continue. அவ்வளவுதான். This is renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. Yes, obligatory actions. Here it is implied that your goal is obligatory action. No, obligatory actions never come to an end. It's only detachment that makes it. It is only detachment. It is detachment and rising to a higher level that brings an obligation to the end. See a person who is attached. He will not have any. What is the end of obligation? It never ends.
Even today, if you take Swamiji, his action does not end. He still obliges to do what he is doing at night. It's not the same.
Obligations doesn't end. Like for example, I get my daughter married. My obligation is over. I get my daughter educated. My obligation is over. At what point of time can I say my obligation is over? And it does get over. When does it get over? When does it get over? When I am detached. One way is when I die. Clear? Appo enna I carry the disease of attachment with me, and in my next I will get attached. What we are discussing here is, at one stage you do it with dedication and sincerity, and the very dedication and sincerity itself should naturally help you to get detached. Ivlo practice edukku pannanum? You follow? So much of effort, so much of practice has to be done for what? And the detachment endradhu varuthu. Otherwise detachment will not come. You follow? When you pick up a higher ideal, imagine you are working for the country. You are working for the welfare of the country. Your first cousins, wives, brothers, daughter getting married. Will you have time to go for that? Your first cousins, wives, brothers, daughter getting married. Will you have time to go for that? Obligation there is. That obligation doesn't exist at all because your attention has shifted to something higher. So ஒரு level obligation end ஆகணும்னா அடுத்த level attention established on. That is called detachment. You follow? Now, how to get detached? Perform actions with detachment to the fruit of action. Practice detachment in relation to the fruit of action. If not, what will happen? You will be all over the place and not anchored anywhere. You follow? This is called renouncing the attachment to the fruit of action. Are you able to follow? Obligation the obligation as such doesn't end at all. How do we say it doesn't end at all? What is your primary obligation? What is your primary obligation? To get back. Yogam nadakanam. The yuj should happen. Jiva Brahma Aikya they say. That is the primary obligation. When that will end? The Jiva Brahma Aikya is the obligation. When that will end? Till the river enters the ocean. Correct. Till the river enters the ocean, this obligation will continue. So even then, where does it end? It ends only. It ends only upon attaining merger. So a person cannot keep, now carefully follow, a person cannot keep that as the highest goal and start now only. See, in the class like moksha liberation it looks like moksha liberation is so. See, ask everybody here, everybody will say my goal is moksha, liberation, self-realization. Everybody. Maybe I also may say the same thing. Wanting BMW car is the ideal for everybody. Adu vaangarthukku undana, what do you need? One is having that ideal. Another is the capacity. Do I have the capacity to get that? Illa. If I have to get that capacity, I have to make an effort. And what is that effort? Renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. Are you able to connect? Again I repeat. Everybody says, you listen to a few lectures, everybody will say moksha is my idea. Some will say, adallam too far fetched, adallam utrumo. We will do something else. Krishna comes and says, no, that compromise is not acceptable to him. Maybe for you it is acceptable. Krishna will never agree on that compromise. He says, moksha is still the goal. Abdina, will I get it? Yes, if you have the capacity. And how do right now I don't have that capacity. Okay, how do I get that capacity? Make that effort. What is the effort? Renouncing the fruit of action. What action? Obligatory action. So what becomes a starting point? Performance of obligatory action irrespective of the result, irrespective of the consequences. A person continues to perform obligatory action. Yeah. Adukudhaan verse number 24 length 30 varaikkum how yajna becomes a 24/7 occupation in life is going to describe. Adukalla is the preparation, and how you have to make how yajna should become a 24/7 occupation in life. Yeah. நடந்தா யஜ்ஞா, உட்கார்ந்தா யஜ்ஞா, சாப்பிட்டா யஜ்ஞா, தூங்கினா யஜ்ஞா, பேசினா யஜ்ஞா, பேசலனாலும் யஜ்ஞா. It means his life becomes only யஜ்ஞா. இல்லையா? யஜ்ஞா friendly. His life becomes one continuous yajna. Indications. What are the indications that I am performing? What are the indications that I am performing yajna? Have you renounced the? What have you renounced? Action. People say, எனக்கு எதுவுமே வேணாம் சார். Impossible. How can you say that? As a doer, you will get something. Now, what is more difficult to say? What is more difficult to say? Whatsoever it is. Whatsoever it is. Whatsoever it is. Correct. Whatsoever it is, I continue my action. அதுதான் கஷ்டம். Whatsoever it is, I will continue my action. அப்படின்னா you are performing, you are renouncing the attachment to the fruit. இல்லன்னா what happens? You are affected by the action, you are affected by the doing, you are affected by the fruit of the doing. Down the line, you are affected by everything. Down the line, you are affected by everything. You are able to follow? That's renouncing attachment to the fruit of action means a sannyasi is one who is a very highly evolved person. What he will be doing? What is his obligation? Nitya anitya viveka vicharamda. Constantly reminding himself that what is nitya, what is anitya. Meditation chanting la vanda kuda, sound and silence vanda kuda, he is doing the discrimination of nitya and anitya in that. Even in the chanting, the discrimination of sound and silence, he is still focused on what is real and what is unreal. What is unreal? The shabda is unreal. What is real? The silence. That is why he tries to be in silence, because that is so right. So idella yaar pandran? Who can do that? Right now a person cannot do that. And you can't do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes in a day and then get back to anitya. Therefore, what is the better way? What is the more realistic way of you going to go to sannyas, to liberation? Are you performing actions without attachment to the fruit of action? How do you know that you are not attached to the fruit of action? Any vigna, you are unaffected. That's the indications. Any obstacle, you are unaffected. Things don't go your way, you are still unaffected. You continue. But sir, the person is dead. What do I do now? What do I do? He has gone elsewhere. Wherever he is, wherever he has chosen to gone, let him be. Just as I worked for his welfare while he is alive, I will continue to work for his welfare even wherever he has gone. Abdinna, where it will end? It doesn't. Are you able to follow? I continue to work for his welfare. Okay, dead and gone. Abada, over. And go to the next person. No. Wherever he is gone, I still work for his welfare. I still pray for his welfare. Why? Because I am not attached. I am not expecting that person to be with me all the time. I didn't. He has his journey. He has chosen the path. He is on his journey. But that doesn't stop me from. Acting for his welfare. Yeah. Tale of Two Cities Sidney Carton went to that extreme where he gave his life, and the girl doesn't even know that this man is sacrificing. The girl doesn't even know that this man is going to sacrifice. So the girl asked, so are you going to die for him? The girl asked, because are you going to die for him? The young girl asked. He says, Sattama sollaga. Yes. Can I hold your hands and walk? Because these fellows are giving strength to, this fellow can give strength to others. So the little girl asked, can I hold your hands and walk till the guillotine? He said, come. Sidney Carton in the Tale of Two Cities. You follow what I am saying? Now all this describes about obligatory action without. He didn't even leave a note. One day, someday, that girl should realize I have made ultimate sacrifice for her, and your sacrifice will sit on her as a burden for the rest of her life. Are you able to follow? See, look at that man's thinking. Oh, I have sacrificed. My God, the other fellow will say, who asked you? Because you want the fruit to exist and continue. What is the fruit? You want the other to recognize that you have. Sidney Carton says, doesn't even want that to happen. He has reached the sannyasi stage. Are you able to follow? So, renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. 700 verses 80 times you would have said this. In 700 verses, 80 times you would have said renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. Renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. And we keep on hearing it as renouncing the action. Renouncing the fruit of action. Renouncing the action we hear. Renouncing the fruit of action we hear. But what he is saying we will not hear. What is he saying? Attachment to the fruit of action. Are you able to follow? Extraordinary. Think about it. You get this concept. You get a very firm grasp on how to practice yajna karma yoga. Seriya? One second. Yes, Raghu.
In effect, you're saying renunciation is three things. One, stop the devotion. Second, stop the attachment to the fruit of action. And third, whatever the result, continue action.
Yes.
That's the summary of how you are renouncing.
Yes. In that, what comes first? Whatsoever the result is, continue action. That is the step number one. That will give you enough strength to accept. See, people say accept, and nobody is able to accept. Why nobody is able to accept? Because you can accept only when you say, I am going to continue. Irrespective of this, I am going to continue my actions now, you will be able to accept. Are you able to follow? So, second thing is accept. the highest is the kartrutva itself goes. I am not the doer. ஏன்னா இந்த ஐன்றது the I is the jiva is a Brahma. All Shastric knowledge, all Vedantic knowledge is revolving around two words. One is Prama, another is Brahma. அவ்வளவுதான். Pramana knowledge, Brahmana delusion. இல்லையா? பிரம்ம புடிச்ச மாதிரி இருக்குதுன்னா what? Brahma. Only two words. It is Brahma or Prama. இந்த பிரமான்றதுல இருந்தா பிரமாணம் comes. இந்த பிரமாங்கிற வேர்ட்ல இருந்தா comes as பிரமாணம். I am the doer ங்கிறது அந்த I என்ற பிரமா goes out. அங்க I என்ற பிரமா goes out. That is moksha, liberation. So I am the doer ங்கிறது who can drop it? The fellow who has understood the I as I என்றது delusional. It's Brahma, it is. How is he able to understand? Because he has constantly done this Nitya Anitya Viveka Vichara, Nitya Anitya Viveka Vichara, Nitya Anitya Viveka Vichara. Are you okay? Brahma வரவன் ஏதோ புதுசாக சொல்லணும் அதனால சொல்றது அவ்வளோதான். பிரம்மா அண்ட் பிரம்மா அவ்வளோதான். ஏதாவது சொல்லினே இருந்தால் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்காக இருக்கும் அடுத்த வாரத்துக்கு. ஓகே. பிரம்மா is I am the kartrutva is a Brahma. Delusion is to say I am the doer. Okay sir, I am not the doer. But who is the doer? Doer யாராவது ஒருத்தர் இருக்கணும் இல்ல. நேச்சர்னு சொல்லிக்கணும், காட்னு சொல்லிக்கணும், டோட்டாலிட்டின்னு சொல்லிக்கணும். But you have to necessarily bring in a doer. இல்லையா? எப்படி சொல்லும்? ஓகே, ஐ என்ற அந்த லிமிட்டட் இண்டிவிஜுவல் வேணா கிடையாது. பட் டோட்டாலிட்டி ஆர் காட். But necessarily you have to bring in the concept of a doer. Vedanta comes in this, and the doer என்றது Brahma. But then how things are happening? For things to happen, Brahma of doership is not needed. அது புரிஞ்ச சன்னியாசி பண்றதுக்கு for you to do an action, the Brahma of doership is not at all necessary. அது தேவையே இல்லை. ரொம்ப சிக்ஸரா இருக்குது சார் இன்னைக்கு. எப்போதுமே கிளாஸ்ல கொஞ்ச நேரம் தான் சிக்ஸர் இருக்கும், மிச்ச நேரம் எல்லாம் டக் பண்ண முடியும். இன்னைக்கு எல்லாமே சிக்ஸர்னு என்ன அர்த்தம்? எல்லாமே மேல போயிருந்துருக்கு. நல்ல மேட்ச் இல்ல, எல்லாம் தலைக்கு மேல போயிருந்துருக்கு. அறிவுள்ள போலும். Renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. அப்படின்னா என்ன தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும்? இந்த ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் புரியணும்னா ஃப்ரூட்னா என்ன? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் யூ ஹேவ் டு ஆஸ்க் ஃப்ரூட்னா என்ன? வாட் இஸ் ஃப்ரூட்? there is no such thing called fruit. It is only a Brahma. ஃப்ரூட்ன்றது ஒண்ணுமே ஃப்ரூட்ன்றதே கிடையாது. இட்ஸ் அ ப்ராசஸ். ஆக்ஷன் கண்டினியூ ஆக அந்த ஆக்ஷனுக்கு ஏதோ கான்சிக்வன்ஸ் ஒண்ணு, அந்த ஆக்ஷனுக்கு ஒரு கான்சிக்வன்ஸ் வந்துனே இருக்கும், அவ்வளவுதான். பட் தட் டசன்ட் ஸ்டாப் த. So fruit is something that as you are acting you keep getting something. That is called the fruit. அதை என்ஜாய் பண்ணணும்னு நினைச்சு ஆக்ஷன் ஆரம்பிச்சா attachment to fruit of action. That's how I went step by step. First is action. Action நாலே ஒரு டைரக்ஷன் வேணும். ஒரு டைரக்ஷன் வேணும். I'm just summarizing, carefully follow. Action நாலே ஒரு டைரக்ஷன் வேணும். அந்த டைரக்ஷன் கொடுக்கிறதுக்கு தான் we have something called a goal. அதனாலதான் அது கிட்ட வந்த உடனே we step it up. Like the girl told me, whole life is cheating that sir. No ma, why no? At the age of 25 what happened to you? 10th படிக்கும்போது they will say your whole life is dependent upon 10th marks only. அது வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறமா அப்பாட இனிமே ஸ்கூலுக்கு போவேனா, you have achieved the highest, we don't are able to follow. Immediately they will say, immediately இதெல்லாம் ஒண்ணுமே கிடையாது. What is more important? 12th. Okay, அத்தோட it will stop. அப்புறம் யூனிவர்சிட்டி இல்லையா, அத்தோட it will stop. ஜாப் கிடைக்கணும், அத்தோட it will stop. So what do you call as the fruit? What would you call as the fruit? So there is no such thing called fruit at all. That is why at some stage and the marriage and children vandavane out of fatigue they keep that as the itoda I will circle, I will keep circling around this. Adu varaikum step by step he goes. Adu vandavane he starts circling like who? The Upanishad gives this example, like an ox in the oil mill. Like an ox in the oil mill. Athiye அது வரைக்கும் ஒழுங்கா போயிருந்த வண்டி அது வந்த உடனே என்னாச்சு, சுத்த ஆரம்பிச்சிருச்சு. அதை விட்டு வெளில வருதுன்றது நெக்ஸ்ட் all the prayer, the worship, the rituals, the jnanam, everything that we do is for what? அந்த சர்க்கிள்குள்ள இருக்கிறவங்களுக்கெல்லாம் அந்த we don't want to get out of that circle. You follow? That is where we come and say no, they are not the fruit also. Just as 10th is not the fruit, 12th is not the fruit, degree is not the fruit, job is not the fruit, marriage and children is also not the fruit. Keep going. எது வரைக்கும்? till you reach the self. Attaining that after which nothing needs to be attained, knowing that after which nothing needs to be known. இது தெரிஞ்சிட்டுனா there is nothing needs to be known. அது attain பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறமா there is nothing else to be attained. You follow? Nobody has that as a goal. Therefore what happens? Somewhere they start circling like an ox in the oil mill. Ox in the oil mill இங்கிலீஷ்ல, தமிழ்ல சொன்னா செக்கு மாடு, அவ்வளவுதான் இல்லையா? இப்ப திருப்பி செக்கெல்லாம் வந்துருச்சு இல்லையா நிறைய. மாட்டுக்கு பதிலா மோட்டார் தான் ஓடுறது. அங்கேயும் மோட்டார் போட்டு செக்கு போட்டா they say it is not செக்கு. உட்கார்ந்தே சுத்தணும்னா அவரை கட்டி விட்டு உனக்கு 1 லிட்டர் ஆயில் வேணா யூ கோ அரவுண்ட் த மில்லுன்னு சொல்லணும். Are you able to follow? Since they cannot do, since somewhere down the line they are affected by since somewhere they circle, what drives you to circle there? Because that you have kept as the fruit, that you have kept as the end. Whatsoever you keep as the fruit, as the end, that will start affecting you. If you keep family as the end, family will start affecting you. Whatsoever you keep as the end, it will start affecting you. அப்படின்னா இதே லாஜிக்கே கண்டினியூ பண்ணி மோக்ஷத்தை எண்டுன்னு வச்சா will moksha affect me? No. Moksha cannot affect you. இதுனா மோக்ஷத்துக்கு மட்டும் தண்ணீர் தான் மோக்ஷத்துக்கு. Because moksha is not an attainment. Moksha is not a fruit of an action. அப்படின்னா are you able to follow? Moksha is not a fruit of an action சொல்லியாச்சுன்னா what are you doing from the beginning? What are you doing from the beginning? You are acting and that action is not going to give. You are acting and the action is not going to give you what you want. What is it that you want? Moksha. And moksha is not a product of any action. And yet you have to act. Abdina, what does it mean? You are practicing. Abdina, what does it mean? You are practicing renunciation. You are acting and you know very well that what you want is not going to be achieved by action. Abdina, Arjuna will come and say, Putralame Abdina action. Abdina action Putralame. Why? Because you still have Raga Dvesha, you still have Vasanas. All this has to be eliminated through that which is a product of wrong action has to be eliminated by right action. This is the injunction, this is the law. That which is the product of wrong action has to be eliminated by right action. What is the product of wrong action? Mama. Mine. Which is the wrong action. And that has to be eliminated by right action. What is the right action? Na mama. Adha yajna. He is going to talk about that. That which is the product of wrong action has to be eliminated by right action. What is the wrong action? Brahma. Mama nu solradhu? Brahma. Mama. Smile vechukonga. Mama nu sonna Brahma. Brahma says na mama. இதை ஒரு நாளைக்கு எவ்வளோ வாட்டி சொல்லணும்? வீக்லி இதை எவ்வளோ வாட்டி சார் சொல்லணும்? மாசத்துக்கு இதை எவ்வளோ வாட்டி சொல்லணும்? சொல்லிட்டு எவ்வளோ கோல முடியுமோ அவ்வளோ கோலம். அதுதான் யஜ்ஞா 24/7. How to convert all actions into யஜ்ஞா. How to convince you to do yajna. Now verse number 25 and 30 working is going to talk about yajna. Now you can hear it any number of times and not do yajna at all, because you don't have the conviction of why you have to do that yajna. Why you have to do that yajna? Because you have to attain fruit in 10th fruit, 12th fruit, job fruit, marriage fruit, children's fruit, welfare of the family. What is it that? So all this becomes a that is why nowadays they use a very good term called it's all process. not the product. Whole action is nothing but it's a process, continuous process. For what? For moksha. For what? For moksha. And that moksha is not a product of action. Ultimately is not a product of action. Down the line, whatever comes, praise, censure, success, failure, profit, loss, down the line, whatever comes, you remain unaffected. Abdina, what are you practicing? Renouncing? Abdi sollu. Renunciation, come on, utrakudadu. Renouncing the attachment to the fruit of action. Because you have understood what? Moksha is not a product of. When the product is not anyway connected to what I am doing, whatsoever this gives, why will a person be concerned about it? Anyway adukku idukku sambandham illa na, why do it? Either we have already discussed any number of times and we have said that we have no escape from action. Moksha sambandham illa na, action is utralame. Adha from third chapter we have already third chapter illa, chapter number 2 verse 41 lendi he has started. Verse number 41, chapter 2 lendi he is convincing what? Don't worry, 18th chapter he will give the 18th chapter he will talk the same thing and try to convince what? Action and fruit are disconnected, which is, don't go and tell this outside, they will think Gita Vedanta class la pokudadundrathu olunga ivlu naal solli kuthundanga, suddenly they have action and fruit are disconnected, as in moksha. See, satyathile connection illanna asatyathile enga connection irukum? What is satyam? Moksha is satyam. Satyathile actionukum fruitukum samadham illa. How there will be a connection in asat and real? So in the formula we will not agree. You know only one thing, what? Genuine sincere panna, genuine sincere panna palan kadaikum, adu I am athoda we will are able to follow. See, all along what we have compromised for? The fruit. What is the fruit? Genuine sincere panna palan kadaikuma kadaikada? Kadaikum. Enna palan kadaikum? Moksha kadaikum. Oh, adu I don't want. Car kadaikuma? Welfare of the family kadaikuma? That is what I am asking. I am not asking for. You follow? For a person who is wanting moksha, he understands. What does he understand? Moksha is not a product of action. That is satyam. When moksha itself is not a product of action, satyathile connection illanna, how can there be a connection in the lower? What happens? Ultimate connection illanna parvala sir, relative connection irukatum, teach us how to get that. And whosoever teaches that, you will Whosoever teaches that, you will go and follow also. Why? Because he is agreeing with asat. He is agreeing with the unreal. What is unreal? Action and result are connected. What is the connection? Adukta Shraddha, adukta dedication, adukta sincerity. With dedication, sincerity, dharmic valor, dedicated, sincere, hard, dharmic way, you acquire a car. Will that car not meet with an accident? Will that car not meet with an accident? It will meet. Okay, accident avalanna kuda deterioration avada. Auditor 4 varshathile he will bring the value to 0. You follow? Death will not death take away everything? Will not death take away everything? The name, the fame, the acquisition, the intelligence, the health, the wealth, everything. Will not death? Will not death snatch it away? Oh, Vedanta, we don't want this. Oh, if this is what Vedanta is, we don't want this Vedanta. What Vedanta we want? We have our own. Are you able to follow? Always remember this. Is liberation a product of action? If liberation is a product of an action, you can never get liberated. Or if you get liberated, you will fall in bondage again. Because that which is a product of action can be maintained only through action. So liberation aanadukku appuram you have to do some action to maintain your liberated status. What are we talking as liberation then? You follow? Because that which is a product of an action, you will lose the moment you stop acting. Yeah. That is why we say keep practicing. And you will lose it. If wisdom is a product of action, then what action will keep the wisdom alive? அதுதான் டெய்லி புக் படிச்சுனே இருக்கணும். PhD ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் கூட புக் படிச்சுனே இல்லைன்னா you will forget. அந்த மாதிரி விஸ்டத்தையும் மறந்துட்டேன்னா what will happen? அப்படின்னா you have no understanding of what moksha is. That which is the ultimate destination of life itself is not a product of action. Down the line, action will never give you what you want. Action can never give you what you want. அப்படின்னா ஆக்ஷனை விட்டுறலாமே? விட முடியாது. ஏன்னா you will become a மித்யாச்சார. இப்போ ஆக்ஷன் நிப்பாட்டினா what will happen to you? You will become a hypocrite. Why? The power of raga dvesha anyway will drag you. சும்மா உட்கார்ந்து இருக்க கூடாது. 9 மணி வரைக்கும் தான் பாடி இங்க உட்காத்தி விடும் உங்களை. 9:05 ஆச்சுனாலே மைண்ட் உட்கார்றதே இல்லை, அது வேற கதை இல்லையா? ஐ எம் டாக்கிங் அபவுட் பாடி உட்கார்றது தான். ஏன்னா அடுத்து we have உங்களுக்கு வேணா வேற எதுவும் இல்லாம இருக்கலாம் சார், எங்களுக்குலாம் we have so many other things to why in the restlessness இருக்கிறதுனால you have to do, are able to follow why you can't, even though action is not going to give you anything na kuda, why can't you get away from action? Because Because the raga dvesha drives you. Yes, see. 1.25 மணி நேரம் கேட்கணும், 1.5 மணி நேரம் கேட்கணும்னு யூ ஆர் கம்மிங். நோ, வெங்கட் வாட்ஸ்அப்ல வாங்கோ வாங்கன்னு கூப்பிடுறது இல்லை இல்லையா? யூ சூஸ் டு கம் ஹியர். மைண்ட் உட்கார்றதா இங்க? இட் இஸ் நாட். பாடி தான் உட்கார்ந்து இருக்கிறா. ஏன்னா அது கூட டைம் பார்த்துட்டேன், அது கூட டைம் வச்சிட்டோம், அதனால பாடி உட்கார்ந்துருக்கு. அதுவே கொஞ்சம் தாண்டிட்டுன்னா restless. Why? What brings the restlessness? Raga. So, as long as you have restlessness, you have to be in action. Are you able to follow now? Why they say you can't get rid of action? You have restlessness. What is restlessness? Astira and Chanchala. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, he says. In verse number 53, chapter 2, he says, it is Astira and Chanchala. In the Astiramu, Chanchalamu, Rikkara varaikum, you have to be in action. And how this came to you? It engendu vandadu? You created it by yourself. How did you create it by yourself? By wrong actions in the past. Now you do the right action. What is the right action? மாமான்னு சொல்லிட்டு டெவலப் பண்ணிட்ட ராகத்வேஷ ஆக்ஷன்ஸுக்கு எல்லாம் இப்ப என்ன சொல்லணும்? நான் மாமா சொல்லி இது வரைக்கும் மாமான்னு சொல்லி பண்ணிட்டு இருந்ததெல்லாம் இப்போ நாமமா சொல்லி பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கணும். அது எப்படி சொல்லும்? அதுதான் renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. மமான்றது தான் ஃப்ரூட். நாமமான்னு சொல்லி அத்தையே you have to keep doing it. All that you have been doing by saying mama, you have to do it by saying na mama. I am breathing னு சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தார் ஆளு. இப்ப என்ன பண்ணணும்? பிரீதிங் நிப்பாட்டிட கூடாது. What he should do? நான் சாப்பிடுறேன் சொல்லியிருந்தால் இப்ப என்ன பண்ணணும்? என்ன பண்ணணும்? இப்போ என்ன பண்ணணும்? என்ன பண்ணணும்? சாப்பிடணும். பத்ரி கரெக்ட். கஞ்சி தான் கஞ்சி தான் சாப்பிடணும். நான் அகம் வைஸ்வானரோ பூத்வா பிராணினாம் தேகமாஸ்ரிதः பிராணாபான சமாயுக்தः பசாமியன்னம் சதுர்விதம். இந்த சதுர்விதமான அன்னம் உள்ள போறது யாரோ கொடுக்குறாங்க, யாரோ சாப்பிடுறாங்க, ஏதோ டைஜஸ்ட் பண்றது. எனக்கும் அதுக்கும் சம்மதம் இல்லைன்னு எடுத்து நல்லா இல்லைன்னு சொல்லிட்டு சாப்பிட்டுனே இருக்கணுமா? Simplest actions. That is why, see, if you go to this 12 yajnas, he takes up simple actions like breathing, eating, adallam he takes and says how to convert that into yajna. He doesn't say, he doesn't give you grand noble actions to do as yajna karma. That is why you will build up 12 yajna படிக்கும்போது it will be very இதுக்கெல்லாமா yajna karma. ஏன்னா இதெல்லாம் தான் இந்த மமான்னு சொல்லி பண்ணிட்டு இருந்ததெல்லாம் you have to do it with na mama. அந்த நாமமான்னு சொல்லும் போது அந்த நாமமான்னு சொல்லும்போது there is a மமான்னு சொல்லும்போது ஒரு சுகம் இருக்கு. நாமமான்னு சொல்லும்போது ஒரு கொஞ்சம்லாம் இல்லை, நிறைய இருக்கு. கிஞ்சித்லாம் இல்லை, நிறைய இருக்கு. அத்தோட you have to keep doing. This is called renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. So remember, it is not renouncing the action, it is not renouncing the fruit, it is renouncing attachment to the fruit. அப்படின்னா rootலயே you are practicing detachment. At the root you are practicing detachment. Down the line this detachment will show in all aspects of life. சரியா? Think about this again. What is meant? It's the whole crux. Arjuna is not able to get it at all. He is still thinking renouncing the action lay he is still stuck. Or he is still either he gets stuck with renouncing the action or he is stuck with the fruit of action. And Krishna is not saying either of that. He is saying the third thing. What is the third thing? Renouncing attachment to the fruit of action. Seriya? If you still have anything, bring it up next week. We will still take it up.